Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Today, let's talk a little bit about planning and doing it in a way that is realistic. Now, something that happens all the time is I will be, talking to people, clients, or I'm in a workshop with people, and they'll say things to me like, I can't plan because I don't control my schedule. Or, I try to plan, but I never stick to it. So what's the point, really? I try to plan, I try to stick to it, it never happens. Like I always just put too much on there. I can never get to it. People just get really frustrated, feeling like the time that they spend planning is not panning out for them. It is not working for them because they're not able to follow or stick to these plans. And often what I find is that a big hurdle for planning is that we're just being too optimistic. We are not looking at the reality of our situation. And so we are planning for the time we wish we had instead of the time we actually have. And so I think that planning for the time we actually have instead of the time that we really wish we had is going to put us in a much better place. Now, you've heard me talk about probably task realism before, and this is the same thing. It is how do we make sure to plan for the time that we actually have available instead of, assuming that we just have all the time in the world, which is always going to put us in a place where we don't feel really good because we aren't getting to, what we said we wanted to, even if we never had time for that stuff to begin with, right? So we want to do some reality-based planning. Now, how can you actually do that, right? I bet most people, when you're planning, you think you're doing a good job, you think you're taking in reality, but there are a few things that you might not be thinking about, and so I want to share those here with you. So I think one thing when we plan is we want to make sure we're planning with all the data. We want to make sure we know everything that's on our plate so that we can make sure that the right things go in the right spaces. Oftentimes, we'll kind of partially plan. We'll plan for certain parts of the day, or we'll plan for certain things, and we'll leave out other things. And what happens then is that you have to now make all these game time decisions about what's the right move. And in that case, maybe the planning wasn't very efficient because we just didn't account for other things that were going to be more important than that. Now, when I say, accounting for all of the things, right, think about all of the things that are on your task system or in your task system, but also what are all those things that happen throughout the day that aren't tasks? They're not things you're planning for specifically, but they do take up time. Like I'm willing to bet that you need to eat every day, right? And that you've got to go to the bathroom a few times and maybe you even need a few breaks. We want to make sure that we're building in time for that. Email, Slack, that stuff takes time. We want to make sure that we're building in time for it because it exists in reality. Now, another thing that we want to do is to kind of anticipate the unanticipated or plan for the unexpected. So if you're one of those people that's like, I can never plan because like just new things come up every day and all unexpected stuff comes up and it makes me move my plans. So what's the point? I'm going to say, okay, but if unexpected stuff comes up every day, then it's not exactly unexpected, is it? Right? If, you might not know what is going to come up, but if you're pretty sure something will, then we can plan for that. We can add buffer into our plans to make sure that we are accounting for, on average, how much unexpected stuff arrives. Now, if your plans go perfectly, it's miraculous, like nothing unexpected happens, well, yay you. Then you get to either quit early, right? Because you're done for the day, or you can grab something from tomorrow that you were planning to do then and do it today and put yourself in an even better spot. So that buffer does not go to waste. Now, another thing you can do is think about estimating. So a lot of times we have trouble with planning because we grossly underestimate how long it's going to take us to do something. And if this is the case, then the answer here is to inflate your estimates, right? Now, there's a lot of other things that could be going on. I've written about and made videos about in the past, what to do with specifics when you're underestimating your time. And so there are a number of things that you can try out in terms of tracking what those, tracking how long things are taking, in terms of seeing if you can remove distractions and interruptions and things like that. But ultimately, if you're always underestimating and you've controlled for the other factors, then you need to increase those estimates, just inflate them. And then that will help you be much more realistic about how much time you have available to do the things that you want to do. And so you can plan for it realistically. And then finally, we all get interrupted, right? Again, some of these we can control. Like we can turn off our notifications for email and Slack and all these other things. Sometimes, depending on our own specific situation. Some of these interruptions, they're controllable and some of them aren't. Sometimes we just have jobs where part of the deal is that we are going to be interrupted from things on a regular basis. And so if that's the case, then we want to account for that. We want to accept it. We want to realize it's going to happen and build it into our plans instead of assuming that we're going to somehow have, 6 hours of interruption free time. The more realistic we are on the front end in our planning, the better position we'll be in later. And we'll feel so much better than if we're consistently planning to do way more than it's actually possible to accomplish. And so if you have had trouble sticking to plans in the past and you're feeling like planning is just futile, try thinking about the reality of the situation. Have you included all of those other things that might come up in your planning to make your planning more realistic?
Hey, here to tell you to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. It help out the channel if you did. So thanks in advance.